Borrowed my boyfriend's new car to visit my parents and lied that it was mine. They secretly sold it to fund my divorced sister's vacation. Now my boyfriend is suing, and I'm cutting ties with my entire family. So, get this. My parents actually thought it was a good idea to sell what they believed was my car, to fund my sister's self-care vacation, and buy her some fancy gifts because she just got divorced. Here's the whole scoop. I'm 26 and drove to my parents' house in my boyfriend Tyler's new SUV. It's a sweet ride, and I wanted to take it for a long drive. Tyler, who's 28, had been saving up forever for this car and finally bought it 2 months ago. We've been together for 2 years, and he moved in with me last month. My folks live pretty far away, like a 6-hour drive from my place, so we don't see each other very often, maybe once or twice a month. Last weekend, they invited me over since my dad's heart was acting up again. I decided to take Tyler's car because mine was in the shop. I didn't bother telling my parents it was Tyler's car because I didn't think it mattered. When they asked about it, I just said it was mine, not realizing what a mess that would cause. Fast forward to the 4th day of my visit. I went to meet a friend, and when I returned, the car was gone. I freaked out thinking it was stolen, but nope, my parents had sold it. I was shocked. They explained that they had taken some photos of the car and sent them to their friends, looking for a buyer. One of those friends found someone willing to pay a good chunk of money for it. I couldn't believe it. They had sold the car without even having the title signed over. When I asked what they did with the money, they said they gave it to my sister so she could take a break after her divorce and ordered her some diamond earrings and a bracelet. They thought since I had bought the car, I must be doing really well, and my sister needed it more after blowing a lot of money on the divorce. They even said they could have paid for it with their own money, but they needed to save for retirement. They expected me to understand their actions. I was so furious I didn't know what to say. I just screamed at them, telling them they had messed up big time because the car wasn't even mine. It was Tyler's. They were shocked and started blaming me for not telling them the truth about the car's ownership. They said my lie had endangered them and the buyer. They had planned on selling the car without my knowledge, thinking I wouldn't press charges. But now they were scared because Tyler would find out. They bugged me to talk to Tyler to convince him not to press charges. I was only negotiating with them because I wanted the car back for Tyler, knowing how hard he worked for it. Their defense of selling the car for my sister's sake was infuriating. I told them that if they didn't fix this, I would tell Tyler to press charges. We reached a stalemate. They thought I was being too cruel, saying my sister deserved the vacation and gifts because she had been through a lot. They couldn't take the happiness away from her after telling her about it, but I didn't care. I wanted the car back and the money they got from selling it. Fed up, I called Tyler right in front of them, explained everything, and told him to press charges against my parents while they looked horrified. I was absolutely fuming, and even Tyler sounded super upset when he called. He said he was done with this nonsense and was getting his lawyer involved. After the call, my parents flew off the handle, screaming at me again and literally shoving me out of their house. They called me a horrible person and said I didn't deserve to be called their daughter anymore. Fine, whatever. But then they started blaming me for everything, saying none of this would have happened if I'd just told them the car wasn't mine. Instead, I lied, and now they're in trouble because of it. They accused me of being insecure because my boyfriend had a new car, and I couldn't afford one, so I was trying to impress them. They said they always knew I'd end up a failure and nothing more. That really hit a nerve. I tried to argue that I wouldn't have even brought the car if I'd known what they were planning, but they said they only sold it because they thought I was family and would understand their situation. But nope. According to them, I was more focused on faking my lifestyle to impress others. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've been crashing at a hotel, waiting for Tyler to show up. We've been talking, but I can't shake the feeling that maybe it's my fault for not telling my parents the car belonged to Tyler. So, am I the jerk for telling my parents that my boyfriend's car was mine? Asterisk, asterisk, edit, asterisk, asterisk. A lot of you asked about my relationship with my family. Well, it's pretty clear there's a golden child, and it's definitely not me. That would be my older sister, who's 7 years older. We don't really get along and haven't been in contact for a couple of years. It's not on purpose, it just happened naturally. She lives out of state and hardly ever visits, and when she does, I make sure not to go to my parents' place because we just don't get along. To be fair, my childhood wasn't that bad. Even though my parents were biased towards my sister, I never felt completely sidelined. This car thing just blindsided me. If they'd treated me badly my whole life, I wouldn't have kept in touch. Honestly, they were pretty good parents overall, which is why I visited them every month. This recent craziness just came out of nowhere. I think they're getting old, and maybe a bit senile, thinking I'd let this slide because we're family. They were wrong. The stuff they said as they kicked me out, about always seeing me as a failure, really stung. They'd always been supportive, at least on the surface. Maybe they secretly felt that way, but they played their part well because I believed they loved me. This whole mess is the first real shocker, and I have no clue what made them act so irrationally. My sister's nasty divorce might have had something to do with it. Her ex cheated and got away without paying alimony or much settlement money. But still, that doesn't excuse my parents' behavior. Anyway, I need some quick advice on what to do next. Asterisk asterisk update asterisk asterisk. So yesterday after I posted, most people agreed I wasn't at fault. I didn't want my parents pestering me about Tyler's car, so I told a little white lie. There was no way I could have known it'd blow up like this, and I shouldn't beat myself up over it. Sure, my parents were decent in the past, but after this stunt, I owe them nothing. Tyler showed up this morning and agreed with the advice I've been getting. I shouldn't feel guilty. He's handling it and just needs me to testify. His lawyer is already prepping a lawsuit. Tonight, we're planning to give my parents one last chance to fix this mess. But honestly, I doubt they'll come around. Their main concern right now is my sister's needs. I tried reasoning with them before, but they didn't listen. Tyler thinks it's worth a try to avoid court, but if they won't budge, we'll take legal action. I'm sure they're already scheming to make themselves look like the victims, but I know what happened, and I'm ready to stand my ground. What I really need right now is the contact number for the guy who bought the car. If I had that, I could sort this out super fast. But since I don't have it, we've got to bite the bullet and talk to my parents one last time. We need to let them know how serious this is going to get if they don't get the car back, no matter what. The only upside here is that Tyler's with me, so I'm not as stressed. He's been incredibly kind and understanding because he knows this mess isn't my fault. It's my parents' fault. So, update time. We went to my parents' house to give them one last shot to fix this. As expected, they didn't go for it. When we knocked and my dad opened the door, he told me he thought I'd come to apologize and that he was ready to forgive me. Like, what? They seriously thought I was there to say sorry instead of giving them an ultimatum. I found it kind of funny, actually. Tyler had to step in and explain that we were there to talk about the car and that he was ready to press charges if they didn't get it back. My dad got all huffy and told Tyler he had no right to talk to him like that on his property and basically told us to leave. But I wasn't having it. I told him we weren't going anywhere until he gave us the contact details of the buyer, because all we wanted was the car back, no drama. I even told them that once this was all over, I planned on cutting ties with them forever. My mom chimed in, saying she didn't care about my threats because she had another daughter she could rely on and would make sure everyone cut me off. At that point, Tyler and I realized there was no reasoning with them, so we left and decided to go through with pressing charges. Tyler called his lawyer and set the wheels in motion. We headed back to the hotel, both of us in bad moods because dealing with my parents was such a waste of time and energy. We started discussing demanding some settlement money on top of getting the car back in perfect condition to compensate for all the time and potential damages. Then my older sister called. I ignored it at first, but she kept calling, so I finally answered. She started lecturing me about how I was harassing our parents and should be grateful for how they raised me. I was already pissed off, so I really didn't want to hear it. I told her that she might think I owed them, but I definitely didn't feel the same way. Things had always been different for her, so she wouldn't understand my side. She accused me of being ungrateful, which made me even angrier. I asked what she was talking about, and she said she wasn't referring to our parents, but to herself. That caught me off guard because I couldn't think of a single time I'd been ungrateful to her. She started ranting about some event from years ago and said she decided to go no contact with me because of my supposed ungrateful behavior. Apparently, she thinks I owe her a thank you for getting a high-paying job because she had moved away with her husband and withdrew her application, which somehow led to me getting the job. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her logic was that her not applying for the job meant I got it, so she deserved a thank you. I was totally lost and confused. I had no idea what she was trying to pull, making it seem like I was ungrateful. How could I be when I didn't even know about any of these expectations she had from me? And even if I had known, I wouldn't have thanked her because they were totally unreasonable. I snapped back right away and told her straight up that she wasn't responsible for me getting the job. I mean, I was just as qualified as her, maybe a bit younger, but I got the job through my own hard work and perseverance, not because she stepped aside. I told her I didn't care if she thought I was ungrateful. All I wanted was for her to leave me alone. I even said that I would make sure my parents returned the car to me in perfect condition. If she thought that was unfair, tough luck. I wasn't going to change my mind. I told her she was a fool for thinking she could call me, say such ridiculous things, and expect me to feel differently. And of course, she never found any faults in our parents, because she was always treated like a princess, while I was treated like an ordinary kid. I never resented them for it, but it was time to acknowledge it. I hung up, blocked her, and decided to go no contact permanently. After the call, I talked things over with Tyler. We weren't sure if our parents put her up to this, but if they did, they just made things worse for themselves. It was a super long day, almost 1 a.m., and we had another long day ahead. I needed to vent, and while I talked to Tyler, I had to get it all out of my system. So, thanks for sticking around till the end. It means a lot. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens next. Hopefully, my parents won't put up much of a fight anymore because I'm really over it and just want to go back to my normal life. Asterisk asterisk. Update 3. Asterisk asterisk. Hey, it's around noon now, and it looks like Tyler and I might not have to go to court at all. This morning, my parents showed up at the hotel, trying to get us to stop whatever we had planned. We got a call from the front desk, and at first, I was confused about whether to let them up. Tyler thought maybe they had changed their minds, so we decided to talk to them. When they came up, they started apologizing like crazy, saying they had thought things over and didn't want any trouble. They were really keen on settling out of court. They told me they contacted the guy who bought the car and convinced him to return it. Apparently, he was ready to go on a cross-country road trip, but honestly, I think he was planning to skip town because who buys a car without the title? They promised to pay him $2,000 more than what he paid, so we might get Tyler's car back after all. This was a big relief because dealing with court would mean staying here for days, and we wanted to get out of here. My parents also apologized for their behavior and admitted they were wrong, but I told them it didn't matter because I had made up my mind to cut them off once I got home. They were obviously upset, trying to make it up to me, but I told them it was final. They humiliated me in front of my boyfriend and sold the car without my consent. I was done. They left looking really down, but at least this nightmare is almost over, and Tyler and I can go back home. Asterisk asterisk update 4. Asterisk asterisk. Hey again. A few weeks have passed, and we finally got the car back. It was in the same condition, thankfully, so no damages for my parents to cover. They returned it just in time, because if that guy had taken it on his road trip, things could have been way different. My parents drove the car down to our place and tried to speak to us again, apologizing and asking me to talk to them. But I told them that now that the car was back, we had nothing more to discuss. They seemed really desperate, probably because they realized they won't be getting any grandkids from my sister anytime soon. Tyler and I made it clear we didn't want them hanging around and even threatened to call the cops if they didn't leave. They ended up going, but it was their own doing that got them here. So there was this really crappy behavior that totally turned everything upside down for us. They needed to face the fact that unless they admitted it, nothing was ever going to change. This all went down about 2 weeks ago. Anyway, guess what? Tyler proposed to me recently, and we're throwing an engagement party at our place this weekend. We sent out the invitations already. Now, here's the kicker. I heard from a few relatives that my parents and my sister are super upset because they didn't get an invite. They thought that something as big as our engagement would make me rethink things and extend an olive branch to make peace. Honestly, that's pretty unrealistic, considering how they've treated me and Tyler. Tyler and I talked it over, and we're totally on the same page. We just don't want them at our party. It's a big day for us, and if they can't be nice, they don't deserve to be there. Plus, even if I did want to patch things up and invite them, our engagement party would end up being all about our family drama instead. So, we decided to avoid that mess altogether. Now, they decided to air this whole thing out to our relatives, who didn't have any nice things to say about me either. They think I'm being bratty and blowing things out of proportion. Well, maybe I'll just keep my distance and stay this way. That way, they won't have to deal with my so-called brattiness anymore.